Is it open? This is group one. We're doing a hydrogen and solar panel microgrid system. My name is Mingzhou.
I'm Lazarus James.
My name is Yadira Rodriguez. In today's outline, we have introduction, background, methodology, results and discussion, and conclusion. In today's introduction, why use renewable energy? The U.S. Department of Energy, the EIA, stated that since 2000 to 2022, there has been electrical consumption has gone up 73%. In order to deal with these new demands of electrical energy needed, new approaches has been introduced to the grid system. Most of these approaches are renewable energy sources. In this project, we'll have a renewable energy source that we'll be discussing that is off the grid. And this renewable source essentially will be solar energy through PV panels and electrolyzer to produce hydrogen. And next up is Mensu talking.
Electricity is something we all depend on every day, but what most people don't realize is how much the demand of electricity has grown, especially because two big factors, population growth and the rise of electric vehicles. More people means more home, more applicants, and more energy use. The problem is most our power still come from fossil fuels, like coal and natural gas. These power plants waste a lot of energy as heat. On top of that, they create pollution. In Texas, we have seen how frigid the power grid can be. Whether it's a winter freeze, a heat wave, or even a hurricane, our grid struggle to keep up and often fails. Leaving home without power, that's not just inconvenience, it's dangerous. A microgrid is basically a small local energy system that use solar panel to power homes. It can operate on its own during an outage or work with the grid to reduce pressure during busy time. They're not meant to replace the big grid, but they give community more control over their power. Next, please. We want to see if a solar hydrogen microgrid could power a small neighborhood of 10 homes. Each home needs about a 5 kilowatt solar panels based on Texas sun data. Instead of using battery to store extra energy, we use something called a PEM electrolyzer. It turns extra solar power into hydrogen, which we can store it and use it later. We test how this setup would work using Simulink when it under different conditions, like steady sun, sudden change, and gradual increase. And we also make sure to check if there's enough space, sunlight, and water to actually make this work in the real world. Next, please. The system design calculation for our methodology is the monthly electricity demand is 11,940 kilowatt hours. Total demand per hydrogen is 12,940 kilowatt hours. Daily demand is 388 kilowatt hours per day. Solar panel, we have 958 panels. Total area per panel is 17,244 square feet, and we have 3 batteries. So
Next, we'll talk about the result and discussion together. So just to kind of recap, so this research is about powering 10 homes in a microgrid system using solar panels. And we also want to produce 2 kgs of hydrogen. To achieve this, an average per home, 1,094 kilowatt hours per month per home. So for our 10 homes, we have a total of 11,940 kilowatts per month. An additional 100 kilowatt per day for the electrolyzer, which gives us a total of 12,040 kilowatts per month. Total daily electrical demand is 12,040 kilowatts. Now, to understand what the daily demand is, what we did was we took the total demand, the monthly demands, and divided by 31, which equates to 388. It's really important to know that to how the number of days in a month. For example, some months have 28 days, the other ones have 31 days. So that's very important in terms of electrical calculation. Next, uh, so for example, our solar panels, we're using Hyundai 405 watt, the rated watts, monocrystalline panels, bifacial panels with a 20% efficiency. The solar panels have an area of 18 square feet or 1.76 meters square. The total area required for the 10 homes is around 17,244 square feet. That's very important because based on our calculations, we have 10 homes. Every home is around 1,600 square feet. So if you multiply that by 10 homes, that gives us an area of a roof area, which is almost equivalent to 17,000 square foot, right? So that means the solar panels could also fit on top of the homes. Also, it's really important to understand that December has some of the least amount of solar radiation, which is 3.48. May has the highest, which is 6.34 solar radiation, sun hours, basically. Next is the solar panel layout. Just to understand the solar panel layout, what I'll talk about is the system information. So we're using a PV watt calculator to help us understand the um, this the solar panel layout. So for example, over here in figure 6, you'll see that the DC system size, which is basically our solar panel rated size, wattage is 405 watt or 405 kilowatts. The module type is standard, which is standard panels, monocrystalline. The array type is fixed open rack, which basically means air can circulate around the panel. System losses is around 14.08%. The tilt is 20 degrees. Now, it's important to know that during the summertime and the wintertime, the tilt will change, but for the purpose of this calculation, we'll do 20. The azimuth is 180, and the azimuth is basically what direction with regards to like I guess the where north is or the compass. So it's 180 degrees, which I guess it's south. Next, we'll talk about the battery and the power inverter. So we're using three 12-volt, 230 amp hour lithium ion phosphate batteries. It's important to know that these batteries are 12 volt and not 24 volts. You could use either one, but I chose to use 12 volt because the calculation was easier. Also, in order to size the battery, we needed to understand the peak electrical production. So, for example, as I stated earlier, May had the highest number of solar radiation hours. It also has 31 days in a month. So, May has the highest or peak electrical production, which is around 858 kilowatt hours per day. So, basically, in order to understand how many batteries we needed, we divide 858 by 230 amp hours, and that equated to 3 batteries. Next, we have our inverter. Our inverter was sized based on the highest electrical output. And one of the tips about sizing an inverter is that you don't want it at the peak hours, at peak production. So basically, you wanted it like 25% less, right? Which is around 640. So what we're estimating is two inverters at 640 kilowatts. The reason why we're getting two is because inverters are known to fail. And so naturally, if a power inverter fails, everything shuts down. So it's a good idea to have two inverters, and the other one is a backup inverter. So we always have power. There's almost zero interruptions. And next, Yadira is going to talk about the electrolyzer system.
So another component of our system is an electrolyzer. Essentially, the electrolyzer will create hydrogen, and the electrolyzer role in this system is essentially to go under an electrolysis um, system where it will split water molecules from hydrogen and oxygen, and will only obtain hydrogen. In order for the electrolyzer to be effective, it has to be having water supply from nearby lake or anywhere where it can easily access water through a pumping system, as well as electricity from the solar panels will be feeded into the electrolyzer to be able to complete this. The system operates at 79% efficiency, and the electrolyzer will only use 49 kilowatts of electricity for every 1 kg of hydrogen. So in this cost analysis, we have the total solar panel costs being 144,480. We have the year positive cash flow from the grid electricity being 20,277.20. Maintenance cost, we essentially multiply 300 times 30 to have 9,000 for the maintenance cost. Itemized cost, essentially we got it from 9085 panels from our calculations earlier on in this PowerPoint, multiply times or 152 to obtain 145,616. We essentially got tax credit, and after credit tax calculation being 101,931.2. Lifetime cycle is 30 years, and the break-even point is 6 years. The rate of return is 447.02 percentage, and the legalized is $0.20, no, 0.20 cents
It's
kilowatts per
it's
hour.
levelized costs.
In conclusion, we use a combination of solar energy, microgrid, and electrolyzer that produces hydrogen to power 10 homes and produce 2 kilograms of hydrogen. The main focus of design is essentially grabbing all moving parts in our system and have the proper configurations as well to analyze the cost of each part. The system is using 100 kilowatts to produce 2 kg of hydrogen per day, and the team will then run a more thorough cost analysis on the system to develop and analyze the payback period. Here are our references that we used. More references, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.